Hello, everyone. My name's Brian. Hopefully, you're having a great day. I am the product manager of LaunchBox, and it's been a great week. Hopefully, you're having a great week as well. It's been very exciting this week. You might know me as Farron over at the community forums, and if you do, you might know that I love creating themes. So that's what this whole stream is about. It's about theme creation, whether LaunchBox, Big Box, pause screens, all that good stuff. We're going to get to there. And hello, everybody in the chat. Luigi, Ernesto, thank you so much for coming. Glad to see you all here. King Noob, Havitsin, Logical Ego, thanks for stopping by. You come out of the void. Hopefully it's not too bad in there. And hey, Rob, hopefully you're doing good today. It's been an exciting week. It's been an exciting day. And for a lot of reasons. Hopefully you're having one too. Steel Gramps, Morton. It's been great for me personally. I just got this in the mail, which I'm extremely excited to try. And that's I'm not sure if you see that. It's literally a Sega Genesis retro style controller. But it has all of the modern day functionality of the analog sticks and the extra shoulder buttons and all that stuff. I have not opened it. It's still in the box. I don't know. Why don't I do that? I'm kind of really excited. It just sort of came before I popped open this stream. When I saw this online, I didn't know what to expect. But I was pretty impulsive and just said, you know what? I'm just going to get it. Why not? If it sucks, it sucks. If it works, and good. Ooh. Buttons feel nice. The D-pad surprisingly feels good. The top buttons are a little clicky, but they work. And the analog sticks actually don't feel too bad. I'll have to really play around with them. Not the best, but for retro style gameplay. I mean, look at this out of the box. It's essentially a Genesis style, and something else that I really liked was that these buttons here are pointing in the opposite direction and more conform to your hands. I don't know what kind of letters they put. I guess it doesn't really matter. I don't know what a T is or what is that, an Instagram icon? I don't really know. A box and a circle. But it's got all the buttons. It's got the shoulder buttons, so you got the 4 shoulder buttons, so that's good. These ones are not analog, which is disappointing. But overall, it feels really nice. Can't wait to try it out. So that was exciting, and of course, we managed to. Oh no! We managed to finally release the next version of LaunchBox. So hopefully you guys have had a chance to at least download it, play around with it for a bit, and see all of the fixes and the improvements and things, and some of the new features like the multiple sounds per sound type in Big Box. So other than that, I am really excited to get to theming. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that we could get to. But, and hey Arthas, you kind of snuck in there. Hopefully you're doing well today. Yeah, so 2 things I basically want to cover today as far as theming. The first one, obviously, is any one of your questions. So thank you for asking. If anybody has any questions, that's what this stream is for. So I am here. Oh, that was me. Don't check your browsers. Yeah, and know that as the new features are coming, there are always we're already in the path of what the next update will look like. And so, Vitsin, I will get to that. Sure, I can definitely show you how to do that. And I can definitely show you maybe the first one. I'll do that first. And Ernesto, you got to play around with some of the new version. You love the new features, so you did have a chance to play around with it. That's good. That's always great. And then obviously at the same time, we managed to release the community poll, which is exciting. So hopefully you guys have had a chance to go to the forums and just vote for what's on there. And what's great about the community poll is that it just gives us an insight to what you guys are thinking. So the way that came about, obviously, is people are used to community polls in the past, and there hasn't been one for a very long time, right? Like imagine, I believe the last one was 2019, and there's a reason for that. The reason was that like Jason and Seabeats were working on the last poll for 2 straight years, essentially. And which has its pros and it has its cons, right? It basically means that 2 years ago, a group of people had a chance to shape the future of LaunchBox for 2 years. So you could take that for how it is. That's great that a group of people had a chance, but how about all of you new guys? Like, so we purposefully made the poll smaller and allowed it so we only included the things that have been the most requested over on our Bitbucket, and we correlated that with what we saw on the community forums. That's right, logical ego. Yeah, you love keeping Jason in the basement. And to be honest, I think he loves staying in the basement. Oh, Edward, sorry that not all the here's what's great about this poll. Okay? What's great about this poll is that it is small enough that there will be another poll much sooner. It's also great that it only contains the stuff that's the highest rated on Bitbucket. Why is that good? Well, for 2 reasons. The first one is that, those features have been ones that have been around for a while and people have wanted it for a while and a lot of people have voted for it. So those are the ones that you're seeing on there. And the second one is that, once those get removed from Bitbucket, now all of these other ones that are on Bitbucket can now start flourishing and getting votes, and a new batch of community requested features can come up. And then just know that this is what happened with the community poll, and I think it's a little confusing, and I blame myself a little bit for that, just because of how it worked in the past. Exclusively, things coming from the community poll have been worked on in LaunchBox, and like nothing else really was coming other than bits and pieces. Now we're able to do the community poll and provide some of those features without hindering any other development that we might want to do. And so it's possible, and just so you know, there's a lot of thought that went into the community poll, a lot of discussions beforehand. It's quite possible, I'm not promising anything, that we had discussed a particular feature you're looking for, decided that, hey, this is a great feature for LaunchBox, we should just put it into LaunchBox sometime in the future. And if we made that decision, you won't see it on the poll because we've already decided to put it into the program. Right, so it's like what you're seeing on the poll is not a roadmap of what you're going to see in LaunchBox. It's a way for us to engage you guys, provide some stuff that's been long requested, allow us to prioritize work, and allow us to move forward with some sort of roadmap that you guys are providing us. It's like a small little prioritization, and give us some stats. What is everybody doing? What is everybody using it for? How can we better serve you guys? And then we'll get those things off of the community poll, and you'll see them come into LaunchBox and BigBox. It'll be a great journey to go on with you guys. And you know what's really funny? And the reason why we did the poll this way is that somebody will tell me a feature, and in my mind, I'll be thinking, like, why would I ever use that? Like, I don't need that. And then it'll get added into LaunchBox, and it'll become like a feature that I use literally every day. Be like, oh, that's why I want it. It's like so hard to visualize certain things, especially when it's just in writing. And there's just some sort of things that are harder to sell. And then, of course, there's just certain things that some people want. Like for me, like imagine I was a theme developer. I'm sitting there like, I wish we could do this to do within our themes. And of course, it gets on the poll and then no one votes for it because there's like a handful of us. And like nobody else would want it. Or they can't see the benefit of it because, right, it's an indirect benefit. It gets added to LaunchBox. We use it in our themes. People benefit from our themes. And that's a harder path to see here, the indirect benefit of things that gets added. Isn't it funny? Like some things you'll read and you'll be like, I would hate that feature. And then it becomes like your favorite feature if it ever gets added. Like the system tray. I was thinking I would never use the system tray. That doesn't make sense to me. If I want to use LaunchBox, I'll open up LaunchBox. And now, whenever I have to go back to an older version of LaunchBox, it's like, well, damn, like where's LaunchBox? I want it to be open right here. I just want it to be available. Anyway, Vitsin, back to your question. How do you hide wheels? The simple fact is, okay, let me jump over here. So I'll do this in the community theme creator, and you know, and maybe I'll just do it in this theme. I just created this one to play around with. Right, Matt? It's the small things that you don't realize how much benefit you'll get out of it until it's actually there. Because me envisioning what it would be like, it just wasn't. I was thinking it's going to be a waste. And like, I was completely wrong. And there might just so happen to be features on the poll right now that I'm thinking the same thing. Like, why would I use that? I wouldn't use that. And then when it makes it in, I'm going to be like, oh, that's why I would use that. Okay, so let me go to a one of these views. I don't even know what's on this test theme here. And let me show you how it works. And let me do, you said like a neon deluxe type of thing, right? Well, here's the wheel. Now, right now, the wheel, unfortunately, just is a blank box. And that's fine. So just imagine that there's a blank box here. And imagine that the wheel is on this side. Okay? And just to help you visualize this, I will do this in a different way. I will create a grid. And I'll make that grid the same size of this. And I'll put the wheel inside of the grid. And now I'm going to put an image inside of the grid. And that image is going to be just a example of what the clear logo would look like in the real theme. Clear logo. There we go. You know, and I'll actually, maybe I should put it inside the grid first. There you go. Let me center it. So imagine this is like the center of the wheel. And you're right, Vitsin. Like, this concept can work for anything, and it allows you to add much more content to the screen. The only thing, and that's great, and a lot of themes use it. Some of my themes use it. One thing to note, just as a theme developer, is that there are some people, and I know this because I'm somewhat one of them, that if certain elements are always in motion, it becomes confusing and can sometimes make me disoriented, if that makes sense. I don't know why that happens, and almost like dizzy a bit. It's not, performance-wise, it's actually not that bad if you do it in a way that makes sense. In the sense, like, there are better theme developers out there that can optimize their themes better than others. And there are ways to always improve performance by reducing the amount, doing the same thing with less animations, doing the same thing with less images or less elements. There's always lots of ways to do the same thing, basically. So I'll try to do it in the simplest thing. So imagine this is the wheel, and I want this wheel to fade in and fade out. Well, it's all based on animations. And the way animations work is they get triggered based on an action that we do. So in this case, imagine we're in the game view. And what are the actions that I can do on this game view? I can click up to go to a game, up the wheel. I can click down, do that. I can click left or right, and that will allow me to view this alphanumeric index. So those are essentially the directional ability of a user on this sort of particular theme view. Yeah, and Edward, that's exactly like there's some people that just want simple, clean, to the point, with the particular stats that are important to you. And those can change, depending on who you are and what your likes and dislikes are for a particular game or maybe a particular platform. And so this is where animation gets broken down now. So I know now that animation can get triggered if I move to a different game. But let's break that down even further. I can trigger an animation when someone immediately switches to another game, or I can trigger an animation when someone finally rests on a particular game. Right? So that allows us I start spinning the wheel, and I can say, okay, the wheel has started spinning, trigger this animation. Or, and at the same time, I could say, now the person has stopped moving the wheel, and I can now say, okay, the wheel has been stopped and put onto a game, now trigger an animation. Right? Those are two triggers we have control over as theme developers. And we can accomplish what you want with either using both of them, one of them, but there's drawbacks to doing certain things. For example, let's say I want my animation to trigger when a user moves the wheel. So then I trigger an animation. That animation, think of it like a video is essentially how you would view it. So it starts at 0 seconds and then goes up, and you're triggering animations at certain seconds. So you can say, as soon as they move it, I want the wheel to come back into view. I'm going to trigger an animation, and in 0.3 seconds, the wheel's going to be there. And then, or it's going to move. Right, that's probably the best way to do it. Come in, I've moved the wheel, bring in the wheel, I move the wheel, so bring it in on screen and let it slide. And then I'm going to say, oh, the person just stopped on a game. Well, we don't need the wheel anymore, so wait this many seconds and then get that wheel out of the way. So let's do that. Let's see how that works. So I go to the grid, and because this is our parent item, imagine I can just put this animation on the wheel, but in this case, I'm putting it on the grid to showcase what it would look like. It'll get applied to everything inside of this grid, including my clear logo image that I'm only putting there as a demonstration, and the actual wheel, which just represented as a blank box. So I'll say new, and you'll see we actually have a ton more triggers than what I just said. Here's the drop-down menu. This is the trigger. And essentially, Dave, the creator of the theme of this program, basically said, okay, I want to run the animation when any one of these happens. There's so many more than the two I just mentioned, right? So, and each one will get triggered in a different way or for a different reason. Some of them are more explanatory than others. Like if I navigate up, if the user navigates up, they can trigger a different animation than if they navigate down, which then they can create a different animation for immediately. Immediately is when the person loads the actual view. So they go into the game view, trigger some animation. And so the ones that I was talking about are during selection and once selected. During selection is, okay, I just started my selection. So during that selection, trigger some animations. And then once selected is basically saying, okay, the person has now selected the game, now trigger an animation. So let's go to during selection. And what did I say? Now, during selection, you want to see the wheel right away. So like right away, start time at 0 seconds. As soon as they click the button, bring the wheel back. So let's say move left and right from the off-screen left. So somewhere off the screen to the left, go to our define location. Our define location is the location you see it on your canvas on the screen right now. So this, where you see it right now, is considered the defined location. Right? Whereas new location is like some other place on the screen. You got to define it by pixels. And then, of course, off-screen left and right. And I want it to take 0.25 seconds. So like pretty snappy. I think the wheel by default, when you're moving the wheel, it actually takes 0.4 seconds is the default for when you move an item from moving to when the new item is selected. And that can be changed in the options by the user. And then, of course, do I want it to, the easing functions is like how, during that 0.25 seconds, which is extremely quick, do we want a variety of how that's going to come over to its defined location? Maybe it starts off slow and then comes in, snaps in fast. Maybe it starts off fast and then comes in and ends slow. All of these are different variations of that. So a lot of them, let's say cubic ease as an example. We can say I want to ease in or I want to ease out. So easing in would start off slow and then go faster. And then easing out would start off fast and then end up slow. And then easing in and out starts off slow, goes fast in the middle, and then ends slowly. If that all makes sense. So let's say ease out. Let's say I want it to come in and then slowly just sort of end in its spot. Actually, in this one, I might want to do the opposite. And so that's it. Like I basically said, it was off to the side, make it come back. And then now I want to create a new. What happens once they select an item? Well, maybe I want it to stay on the screen for 1.5 seconds. And then I want it to go from whatever location it is. In this case, it's in its defined location. And I want it to move back off screen to the left. And in this time, I want it to take maybe 0.4 seconds. And maybe I want it to ease in so I can see it sort of like it's going to go and then boom, it's gone. And that's basically it. There is one more thing you might want to consider, and that's what will happen with that wheel when a user loads the page up. So the thing comes into view. Do you want them to see the wheel right away and then it fades out? Or does the view come up and you don't want them to see the wheel, and then only when they move up and down, the wheel shows itself? And that's controlled by the immediate trigger. And I don't think there's really a right or wrong answer here. So let's just assume I want it to show the wheel right away. So I can say, okay, show the wheel. And only when a user moves their mouse or their keyboard will the wheel then go away. And all we have to do is say, move left or right, keep it in its defined location, starting at 0 seconds, lasting 0 seconds. So it's just like right away, keep it wherever in this defined location. And now, just so that we have something for people to see, let's imagine that we have a full screen video. That was odd. There it is. Let's imagine we've got this full screen video. Actually, let me just make it full screen. Let's keep the aspect ratio. And now we'll put it back behind everything. Okay, so in this case, I don't actually need this. So let me make the opacity 0. And I'll save that, and let's go see what that'll look like. So I'm going to publish the theme. I think the theme's called Theme Concept. And let me load this up. All right. So I got to go find the theme called Theme Concept. No. And let's go take a look. So I'll go into Nintendo. Okay, that's not the view that we created. That's also not the view we created. Here we go. Okay, so obviously that didn't do what I wanted to do, but let's see what happens. Here it comes. I can pick a game. And there it goes. There it comes. And it comes really quick. Maybe 0.25 seconds was just too quick. 0.4 seconds seemed like a better type of... And that's how you do it. Now imagine that now I have it attached to a grid. I can then add other elements. I can put a background on the grid so that when it comes in, the wheel has a background that's animating in and out with it. You know, lots of stuff that you can do at this point. And that will take on the same animation that you just made. So hopefully that makes sense. And great question. If anybody has any other great questions, I am here for the next few hours. And of course, if anybody does have any questions that's watching this later, just leave it in the comments or just send me a message on the forums. Send Farron a message on the forums and I'll answer it in next week's one. Other than that, there is something else that was good and bad, let's say. So if people watch my previous streams, you know that Viking, who's the creator of Colorful, and he did a lot of themes actually over the years. And Happy Friday, Nimble, All Chad, sneaking in there, Vitsin. You're welcome. And so Viking, I had announced that he did contract COVID, and he did end up getting hospitalized, and he sort of kind of derailed him. Like, if you were following the forums a bit, he was like pretty active, and he was looking at trying to get some stuff updated for his colorful theme, and then he just sort of disappeared, and that was why. And now he's out of the hospital and he's getting better, thank God, and he's realizing that he has taken on so much that he can't possibly deliver to you guys, including the colorful theme, and he needed something to take that off. He needs somebody to take that off his shoulders, and he asked me, and I have now agreed to sort of take on the responsibility of maintaining colorful for anyone that uses it. And so I thought that might be a great idea to look over his code, see how it is. Now, he's self-proclaimed not a coder. He's a designer by trade. And so like I've given him help, and other people have given him help over the years to try to accomplish what he wanted on colorful. And so sort of like the code is sort of a mismatch of like lots of different stuff and maybe not the best optimized thing. It's also using a plugin that is unfortunately been abandoned and is not being updated. So, you know, as LaunchBox and BigBox updates and needs to change things for whatever the reason, performance reasons or whatever, the plugin may end up breaking and stuff will stop working on it. So depending on how much dependence. So I was looking through and it was really heavily dependent on this plugin that is sort of bringing or weighing down that theme. And so I thought this might be a great time, and I could do it on the stream, to see what it would take to port the theme over to the community theme creator and see how much sticks, see how much works, see how much doesn't, give us sort of a baseline of how great is the community theme creator at doing all of the things that that plugin is doing and all the things that Colorful is doing and all that good stuff. And then getting the benefits of the theme creator, like automatic sizing at different ratios and text scalings and all this other benefit of the community theme creator, the ability to keep updated your theme just by publishing on a new version of community theme creator. You know, it gives the themer the ability to update through like 2 clicks and be like, okay, now I just published it with the new plugins that might fix this or that, and we're good to go. So it's like a whole bunch of benefits and why I like using the community theme creator. And then all the animation benefits. There's so many animation benefits. I can't even get started, which is like the community theme creator will automatically resize or reposition your elements that are moving, like what we just did, Vitsin, with going off-screen left. Before, older themes will actually say, you know, go off to the left 500 pixels or 1000 pixels and then come back on 1000 pixels. But, you know, what if you have a 2K screen, a 4K screen? 1000 pixels is a different distance on all those different kinds of screens. So the animation would work differently. And so the community theme creator automatically does the math for you on your behalf and then adjusts your animations. And all you have to worry about is just say, yeah, move off to the screen to the left, like we just did. And it did all the work for us. And Edward, you like Colorful. Use it for your pinball platform. And sorry, I missed your message, all Chad. Anyone know how to make a Logitech G19 pedals not rotate the menu when up or down? Rotate the menu. You'll have to maybe explain rotating the menu. Like the actual menu is turning, twisting maybe? Or is it just going really fast? Also, it would help if what theme you're using. Every theme does a menu differently. And Vitsin, what do I think about using GIFs or GIFs, depending on how you say it, as a background? So I thought about this a lot. And here's the problem with GIFs. I'm going to call them GIFs. is that they are not the best optimized things in the world, right? They're essentially lots and lots of frames that make up one moving image. And the way that WPF handles them is not great. Have you ever noticed, I don't know if you've ever noticed it, it's not just WPF, by the way. If you use one of these, if you're using one of these GIFs and you send it or something on like a browser, you post it on a forum or you send it in an email or something. And when you're loading it, the first time it tries to load every single frame and it's like super, super slow and it like bogs down your system or your browser or whatever. And then finally it finishes and it loads up and then it starts like playing. And there's a reason for that. Because it's basically trying to process every single one of those frames at the beginning. And it's not great, right? So imagine now, let's use that, but we'll make it full screen, huge resolution, like 1920 by 1080 GIF. And I'm going to put that in my background of my theme. And then so you go to the theme and you go into the view. And what's the first thing it's going to try to do? It's going to look at for the GIF and it's going to look through it and try to load it one frame at a time. Loading, 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 loading. And then it's just going to finally, after a long lag spike, load in your view and then display your GIF. And because of that, it's actually storing each frame separately. And it ends up like, even if you only had a 2 meg GIF, that thing in the cache is going to be humongous. And so it's actually more performant to have a video playing in the background that's showing the exact same thing than having a GIF play in the background. So if you really like a particular GIF, and try to convert it into a video. And then you won't have that problem. And that's why there are a lot of themes that use videos in their background. For that reason. All right. So let's go. So I actually started this whole colorful transformation just to see what is possible. And I managed to port over this view. And so and this is the platform view, and there's a lot happening here. And, it looks pretty good. You got the wheel here, which of course is a blank box. You've got, when I switch, you've got those, the release year and the title and a white giant screen in the back covering everything up. That swipes away. And then what's actually happening is that he's making the video animate to the right. And he's got a white, so there's actually a white border that's static in the background. And then he's got this white rectangle or grid or frame or whatever you want to use, and he's got that scaling up from 0% starting over here to 100%. So that's what you're all seeing. And then each one of these elements just does slightly different variations of the same animation. And so I just recreated all of the animations in the theme creator. So this theme essentially is done. It's doing what the original does in just a slightly more optimized way. And you're not seeing the optimization because this is all running in the theme creator, which is not as performant as actual big box. And even so, all the animations seem to be flowing all right. And Edward, what's great about this is that it'd be fairly simple to then convert this into a dark version. And then maybe in the future, there might be features that we could just have one version and you can just decide I want the dark one. I want the light one. It's just one theme. That would be cool. And so I managed to do this, and we had to, and I'll show you how this works, because you'll notice that what he's done, and one of the main reliances of that themer plugin was that when you choose a platform like Nintendo, for example, there are certain elements on the screen that changes color, like this box, like this line, these two texts, and this text. So in total, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements on this particular view will change the color. And so how does that work? Well, what's great about the theme creator is that it's more open and flexible than what the plugin was doing. The plugin was very restrictive. It was basically saying they have to have a platform, and they have to have a platform with these names, or else it won't work. With this, so let's just choose one of these elements, because all of them are exactly the same. You can see here, I've got all these colors that I pulled from, like lots of colors that I pulled from that, the plugin, let's say, resource dictionary that's within the plugin folder in the original colorful theme. And I took all of the colors and I put them here. But in this case, what I said was, if the platform name, if the value of the platform name contains Jaguar, make it this color. And what that does is that, let's say someone has decided that they want to name their platform Jaguar and not Atari Jaguar, then either one of those it'll work, because it just has to contain the word Jaguar for this color to appear. That even makes it, if you didn't even want to do it per platform, you just say all Nintendo themes should use this color. Anything with the word Nintendo in it will use this color. And Corey B, how you doing? Hope you're doing good today. And you uploaded acrylic clear logos. I feel like I saw them. And it's always great to see anything coming from you, Harry. And so that's how these colors work, right? I can just simply say right here, if I wanted to add a new one, I can say, I want you to add a color, pick the color, right? Pick the color. And say, based on any one of these conditions, make the color blue. And in this case, I'm saying the platform name. So based on the platform name, make the value contain, or I can say is, which is just like, it has to be exact match. If you were dealing with numbers, you can say all of these ones, equal to, greater than, or equal to, less than, or equal to, stuff like that. Isn't that great? Most of your startup videos are Harry's. And he's made so many. You made so many. And a lot of them are so great. And so that's how that's accomplished. And now I simply went, okay, that's done. Let me copy and paste this color condition over here onto this element. And I just right clicked and say paste property foreground. And you can see here, this is the foreground area. And I paste the foreground, and then all of a sudden that element has all of my conditions. You think you overloaded the startup video section, to be fair. And that's never a bad thing. And there's a little bit about color conditions and how I can now remove the whole thing about the reliance of the plugin on that. Now, Colorful has 5 or 6 different views, and I haven't done them all. But as soon as I do them, what's cool is then I can just release the project files, and then anyone can create their own version of colorful based off of this. You could add your own colors to the color conditions. You can add another view or alter any of the views that are on here just by using the theme creator. And I think that'll be a big win for everybody that uses colorful, you know, on top of like the maintenance and the performance gains that we'll get and all that cool stuff. So I thought today, and let me just show you a few of these things here, but I thought today we can work on one of the next views. This is interesting, and I didn't realize this view, he was sliding the video over, and then the background was a particular color that would keep changing. And I noticed, if you notice on the screen, that he couldn't match up the exact color due to whatever the reasons are. I guess the color that's used in the video, and I don't know if he regrets the decision that he made here, he put shadows and stuff around it, vignettes and stuff, making it so the color on the top is not exactly the same as the color on the bottom, which is not exactly the same as the color in the middle. And so I don't know if he couldn't quite match it up or something. Maybe I can help with that. Although that'll take a lot of work. Oh my God, Harry, I'm just reading this. You can't continue your video work at the moment as your main PC you use for rendering is kaput. Oh no. Yeah, what happened to it? It is just, do you know what it is? CPU. Is it the CPU or the motherboard? I normally, in my experience, it's normally the motherboard that dies. The CPU normally stays fine, right? There's so many safeguards against that. But motherboards, ugh. I've had so many failed motherboards over the years. It's crazy. I wonder if it's that simple. Or maybe it's the power supply. That's also a very common thing. Always hard to deduce unless you're sort of an IT person. Anyway, but some of these platforms can be done. He did really well. Like the Nintendo GameCube, for some reason, has a matching color. Oh no! I say that, and it's like it's sort of matching, but it's not. I'm now seeing it. Is there anyone that's like really, really good? That one is not great. Anyway, you look close enough and you'll see that he couldn't really do it perfectly. Anyway, so what else did I do? Did I do this view? I think I did the games view. What's cool about the games view is that it's very similar. What I've done is that I've copied and pasted the views from one view to the other, and then just sort of altered it a bit. And you can see here, there's a lot of really cool stuff here. One thing that I want to highlight, and something that I've never seen done. So in the community, in his theme, he relied on the plugin to do this community star rating. Normally, these community star rating images are about 50 something different images, all relating to a point that goes up in numbers. So that you can have like a community star rating that's like 0.0, 0.1, 0.2, all the way to 5.0, each one corresponding to an image that shows that particular star rating. The thing about his is that he was using a plugin to accomplish this. And instead of doing it image-wise, he was doing it by sizing. And so the plugin was basically saying, if something comes back as like a 0 point or a 1.2, take this rectangle and resize it to what we think is around 1.2, and it'll resize it. And then this background, or this star rating thing, is actually just an outline of the stars, and the stars in the middle are just holes, like they're transparent spots, so you can see below it. And so like a rectangle is getting bigger and smaller. And if you really pay close attention to it, it wasn't perfect. So if you had something that was rated 2.5, for example, here, right, exact middle, on his colorful theme, it would not be in the exact middle here. It would be like very close, but not there. And because they couldn't really do the sizing 100% accurately. And so what I did was I reverted that, but I kept the concept that he was doing. I basically did a community star rating in reverse. So instead of like 2.5, instead of me showing this color on this community star rating on the image, these are holes through the image. This white part of the stars are the actual image, are like part of the image. And then there's a rectangle behind it that will change color depending on the platform that you're on. And what do I mean by all that? Here it is. So you see there's an image here. If I make that image invisible, what do we get? We get a solid color rectangle of blue. And that blue color, I have all of the same conditions on, so I can change the color based on the platform that you're on. And Victor, the CTC work performed quite smoothly. What hardware setup am I on? So I do have a fairly decent computer, not a new one. I think I built it in, God, it's been a while, 2018. So whatever was out then, it was particularly when the 2000 series came out for NVIDIA. So I did go with Intel. I'm going to say a 9700, nothing crazy there. Sort of mid-range high. And then did the same with the video card. So I have I believe it's a 2070. One of the 2070s. And then I, loaded up on RAM and stuff. But in general, once the new version of the Community Theme Creator comes out, which Dave is now officially renaming to the Cycle. Is that what you're saying, Dave? The new version of the Community Theme Creator will be much more performant than the one that if you download it off of the forums right now. Which is the one I'm using right now. So, and that one's coming out whenever Dave says it is. Which I think is soon-ish. Anyway, so that's sort of how I handled the community star rating. It's much more accurate this way, but still keeps the intended functionality of what Viking was really going for, of having like different colors per platform without it going crazy or like having too many images per platform sort of thing, while keeping the sort of white look to it, if that makes sense. Which means I will have to create another variation for the black one, for the black theme. Maybe. We'll see what we can do there. Okay, so, and I think in general, it took a while, I was able to optimize this whole space. So this whole space is one giant block starting here. And that'll get bigger and smaller, and based on the parenting and all that stuff. It's really, really cool. And Victor, you need a hardware upgrade anyway. Your computer struggles. Even with the new one. Yeah, I mean, depends on how old your computer. Before I did my upgrade in 2018, my computer was super old. It had like a a second generation CPU in there, Intel i7 from whenever the second generation of Intel CPUs came out. And I was still thinking it was okay at that time. Okay, so what am I going to do today? What I want to do today is I want to build the text games view. That's going to be the goal. And I don't think I have a text games view created. So we're basically starting from scratch. Let's go quickly into the theme creator and find out, or theme creator, into Big Box and find out what that text view actually looks like. At the same time as that loads, I'm going to take a look at the code of what it looks like. Yeah, it's that Victor. That is definitely not the video card. You're right. It's definitely the CPU. CPU limitations, unfortunately. Okay, so let me take a look at... Where am I here? We'll go to the original colorful theme and we'll take a look at it. Should change that animation. Why don't I do that now? You ever wondered one way of getting smoother animation in Big Box? Either stop or switch to fade all of these transitions. Oops. Alfred, what's going on? It's the theme creator with the golden voice. No, I'll reserve that right for Dave. Okay, let's take a look at this theme. Okay, so you can see here his second view, which I'll create later. Audiobooks or ASMR? That would be something, wouldn't it? I almost... Oh, should not click button. This is the view that we want. I went... I didn't know what ASMR was like last year. I'm like, what? And people were talking about it. Somebody was talking about it, and I had to go and I had to check it out. And boy, that's something. Oh, that's a great question. What is everybody's favorite system to emulate? Is it something that you grew up with? Is it something that you found only after you grew up? Joe, you thought this was an ASMR channel. Could it be both? Could it be both a theme creation and ASMR channel? If some people want to think of it that way, sure. I thought it was some kinky stuff. It's like, what is the ASMR? Like, when you don't know what that is, the word ASMR doesn't tell you anything. So you're just like, I don't know what I'm getting myself into. Ernesto, yours is the GameCube and the Wii, so you're combining those two platforms together, probably because of Dolphin. So, but I'm more interested in why you guys are liking your particular system. And both of you guys, Megs Merciful and Matthew, you both like PlayStation 2 emulation. So is there any reason why you like those to begin with? And I almost wonder if it's like mostly nostalgia, or if it's something that you grew to love after you grew up. And there you are, Victor. ZX Spectrum and the Amstrad CPC. I mean, I wouldn't say that makes you too old, but I assume that makes you European. Correct me if I'm wrong there. Somewhere over there where those systems existed. Or, I mean, it would actually be much better if you were not from from there and you somehow grew to love those systems. Oh, yeah, okay. So, Megs, you're saying it's nostalgia. And same thing with you, Matthew. What's funny with the PlayStation 2 is that I never had one. But I borrowed one years after it came out from a friend. There you are, Victor. You're from Spain. So that makes sense, right? And here in Canada, I was basically thinking, I never even heard of the ZX Spectrum at any point in my life until more recently when I got into the whole retro computer scene. And Dr. Suicide, you like it just because it was so impossible to emulate for so long. Does that mean you're going to like the original Xbox now as it's coming out and more games are becoming more playable? It's just been even longer since you couldn't emulate that one. And before I missed you guys, so Edward, you're saying it's virtual pinball and arcade are your favorites. So I wonder, I've always wanted to get into virtual pinball and really have no idea how. And the more I read up on it, the more confusing to me it gets. Like, I thought it was just like, oh, here's virtual pinball. Here's like 1 or 2 programs that could do it for you. And now I'm looking at it and thinking, okay, it doesn't seem to be some sort of standard like MAME. It's just sort of all over the place. And then I said, I'll think about it later. And Alfred, you love to emulate PSX and Dreamcast. So, 2 slightly different generations there, one after the other. And then you're saying because it's the resolution improvements that we can get now with emulation, they actually don't look like, the way that we remember them. And yeah, Ernesto, Dreamcast was the hardest to emulate for a while. I would agree with that. Yeah, now it's not so much. That's really cool, Dr. Suicide. The one thing about the original Xbox is that, so I did have one, and it's, but I was older at the time. And so I was already in my 20s when I got one. And and it was fun. It was, at the time, I extremely enjoyed it. And now looking back at the Xbox, and the way that Microsoft promotes their systems even then was like everything on the Xbox can be played on something else other than a handful of games. So you're only really, and that, I think that's why for a while it wasn't really the most common that people wanted to emulate this stuff, because which games are they doing it for? And so, like, there are a handful of games, and I do have a game that I would love to play that is only now starting to become emulated on one of the Xbox emulators, and that's a Dungeons and Dragons hack and slash that only came out on the original Xbox and never came out on any other system ever. And I believe it's called Dungeons and Dragons Heroes. And I played that back in the day, and I played it with my brother played it and loved it as well. And I had it, and I haven't played it in a very long time. I have my original Xbox, but the drive in it broke. And by drive, I mean the actual DVD drive in it broke. So I can't actually load the game into it. And I just haven't bothered fixing it or anything. And Harry, you love looking at games in their native resolution. You sometimes get a shock at how your memories make the graphics better. Oh God. Yeah. Some of the memories I have with the old DOS games and stuff that I played. Definitely like that. Okay, so back here. We're going to try our best to complete which view. And to go back to the question, what system do I have the most fondness of? Which might actually be a different question than which system I love to emulate for. I always have great fondness for the original Nintendo, just because of my age at the time, nostalgia. It was a big deal then, when you're a kid, and all the other kids are basically have one. And you can play them at different friends' house, going to lots of different friends' house, all with different games, and each one of us had different games, completely different games to play. I have fond memories of the ColecoVision, which is funny because I never had one, but a friend did, and I would always go over to his house and play it. And what's funny is I never knew the name of the system. Until more recently. I just knew that he had a system I didn't have. And it had numbers on the controllers. I have extremely fond memories of the original Game Boy. Me and my brother having it, playing Tetris together, playing Metroid 2. I love that game. And it doesn't get talked about a lot. Unless you're in those circles. I played Adventure Island on that thing. Marble Madness, all sorts of small little versions of other games that you would have played on like Nintendo. And Super Mario Land 2, those were one of my favorites. Super Mario Land 3, I actively went out and got them. I then got the Game Boy Color, and I got before that I got all the Zeldas on the Game Boy. And then I got the same version of Zelda on the Game Boy Color. And then I went out and actively bought the Capcom Zelda games on the system. Was that Oracle of Seasons and that sort of thing, which I still have somewhere in a box. Like all that stuff is like, those are my memories. But what system do I love to emulate? Surprisingly, it would be the 16-bit era. Right? The Genesis, the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo. And what's funny is that it's not so much the era itself, because I mean, I love the era, and I loved the games that I got, and I had a Super Nintendo, I had a Sega Genesis, and loved those games. Fond memories of Aladdin, for some reason, on both systems. I had both of them. I must have really liked Aladdin. And let's go down and check out some of these other games here. But really, to be honest, it's because there was so many games on both of those systems that we just could never potentially play that were sequels or some sort of reimagination of games we loved on the Nintendo that I didn't know existed. I don't know if that makes sense. Like imagine finding after you get older, wait, they had a Contra on the Sega Genesis. They had a Castlevania on the Sega Genesis. They had a this or that on the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo. Like, I didn't know they did that. And then I like now can go back and check out all these games or sequels or reimaginings of games that I loved that I didn't realize existed. And I think though that was like the most surprising. And it's been a while since it was the most surprising, but that was the most surprising for me when I got into emulation. Let's see what's actually happening on this view, because this view is actually not that complicated as I thought, as the other views. And Edward, you're saying 2 to 3 games on Intellivision hold nostalgia for you. Yeah, I feel the same way with like the Apple II or the Atari 2600. There's like a few games that hold nostalgia. I think it's because I never had either. Well, I had an Apple II, but I never had an Atari. But there was one at my grandfather's house for, I can't remember the reason. And we would, me and my cousins would get together and always go there, and we would play it when we were younger. But there's only like a couple games, like not that. Like, those are the games I would remember fondly. And then, of course, something that I've always loved is adventure games. They hold a really close place in my heart, and that's just because of the ones that I played. It's like all the Sierra adventure games growing up, all of the LucasArts adventure games growing up, and all the other companies. Broken Sword, I don't know if anybody's a fan of the Broken Sword series. I love that series, and when I started playing it, it was not actually called Broken Sword to me, so I learned the game through the title Circle of Blood. So for many years I was like, oh, has anybody heard of the game Circle of Blood? And like no one's ever heard of it. And then I realized, oh, because everybody refers to it as Broken Sword. And I'm like, I'm the only one that doesn't. I still have the original like disc that says Circle of Blood on it, and it came with like multiple discs. That was great. Yeah, it's the US title, I guess, for a short while. Until they decided, no, we can do this. We can use the title Broken Sword everywhere now. And then it wasn't Circle of Blood anymore. Okay, so you can see here a couple things that are going on. The first one that I'm noticing is that the text view, the text list stays on the screen. The second thing I notice is that you've got the game box that's animated in the exact same way as the other view, so I already have that created. You've got the title and the genre happening, and I'm assuming the icons that appear on the top of that are happening too. Let me find out. Yeah, so there's the icon of the favorite there happening when a game is favorited. And then they animate when you move the game up or down. If you start selecting a game, all of that stuff is faded away, and then there's sort of like a swipe of a white rectangle that swipes away and shows you the title and the genre. I have that already built in a previous view. And then the top, which is the icons, fades upward. So there's a movement animation going up. At the same time as that movement animation, an opacity animation is going from 0% to 100%. So that's what I'm seeing. Other than that, everything else is stationary. You know, there's no swipe off to the side or anything, or the video's not moving. E.T. It is definitely one of the most infamous games of the Atari 2600. Okay, so let's do it. What would I do? So I've already built this theme, right? I've already built this view, which is the regular games view. Here we go. Castlevania 2 Belmont's Revenge. So let's copy the entire view. And let's find the text games view and paste it all in there. So that'll give us a starting point, right? Not everything's going to transfer perfectly, but enough. Okay. Now realizing, okay, well that view, the text games view is missing quite a lot. So let's see, what is it missing? All of this information block, not even here. Delete that. Goodbye. That's a lot of elements there. Okay. This block here, also not there. Where's that located? Here. Everything else is already there. I've already animated it. Should be working. So we're good so far. Let's find where the wheel is. So here's the wheel. It's off to this side in the games view. But in the textless view, it's going to be something like this. Let's just double check. So it's aligned to everything else. And it goes... I mean, we can roughly mash this up. This won't be too bad. Something like that. That's a bit better. All right, and then we'll roughly match that up there. Looking good. Perfect. And now we'll bring this down because we know that the text list itself comes down to about here. You do, Harry. the drunken Geordie on the train. Yeah, I guess everybody that doesn't know will have to look that up, just so that you'll know what Harry sounds like. Okay, so why... I'm trying to think. Like, I know why it's not showing up, don't I? Actually, let's find out. So, we are going to go to... I wonder if does anybody have fond memories of the Game Boy Advance? So that was a huge system, wasn't it? But although to me, it almost like it flew by. There was a Game Boy Advance, then there was a DS. All right, let's take a look at Zelda. So I had fond memories of these games. Let's put this over here. And the wheel, I'm realizing we're not seeing it for a whole bunch of reasons. The first reason is that it does have an animation on it, we don't actually need the animation here. Second reason is because all of the text is white and it's on a white background. So if I go over to the actual theme files and I wanted to find what color did he use, exactly what is the color. So I go into text list view and we're going to find out. You can see this screen comes up saying, hey, yeah, your theme's old. The code is old. Okay, so let's take a look. He used the color A, and that's like a off-white gray sort of color. There, like a gray. Okay, so now we're actually seeing the list, and I'm realizing that it's only showing Zelda because I had the filter on. Okay, there we go. And now let's take a look. Oh, Edward, you never had any handhelds. So, and that's a good question. You never had any handhelds. Do you feel like you want to use a handheld these days? Like, are you excited about the Steam Deck or any other handhelds? Do you use your phone to play games as a handheld for emulation or anything? I wonder if that's like related at all. Like, I never had a handheld, therefore I really want one, or I never had a handheld, so therefore it's sort of like not a thing, like I don't have any reason to use one. So this is a full screen white background. Don't need that. That swipes away. We have an opacity mask, which is an image that he uses. Don't need that. The wheel separators, when the overlay wheel, anything related to the overlaid wheel, we actually can just remove right off the bat. Which is basically everything up here on the top. Okay. Now cleaning up this theme, cleaning up this view. I think we're doing pretty good here. And now we just have to find out the font that he used. Let's find out what font he used. Here it says he used a font called Roboto Condensed. I should have that. So I just go here and say Roboto. Do I have one called Condensed? I do. And I'm just going to have to roughly interpret the size of what he's done here. I wonder if he put a size. He did not put a size here. Did he put a size at the top here? He also did not put a size at the top here. So at some point it must be using just sort of a generic size of the text. Okay, so in saying that, we can just eyeball it. Only played, and Edward, you're saying, yeah, you've only played a couple games on the phone, recently took over your son's 3DS and immediately hacked it, but you lost the fire. Yeah, so there you go. So if you don't have the nostalgic edge towards a particular platform, sometimes it's hard to get into that. That's what it seems to be. And I'm the same way in a lot of respects. I know a guy that's like super, his favorite platform in the world is the TurboGrafx 16, which obviously in North America was like a commercial failure. But that's his favorite system because he had one when he was a kid and he loved the games. and he can cite me all of the games that he loves. And the way he talks about it, he's like, he just thinks everybody's the same way as him. Like, oh, the TurboGrafx 16, don't you love this game and that game? And I'm sitting there, I've never played any of those games before. I don't have that attachment to it. And he's thinking like, the TurboGrafx 16 controller is the best, and this is the best, and I love, and then the Mini came out, and he wanted to get that and all that stuff. And so it's always based on, I mean, a big chunk of it is based on nostalgia. And Harry, can you animate GIFs to be used in the Clear Logos platform logo? So I did talk about GIFs earlier, maybe before that you arrived, in a different context, but the same thing applies. And the problem is that GIFs are terribly optimized for a lot of things, including big box. Not just big box. Like if you try to load up a GIF and that GIF lags your system or lags the program that you're in, even if it's a browser or if it's any program, if you're sending it, and that GIF sort of struggles to get going, and then eventually it loads everything in whatever its cache it's using, and then boom, it like shoots off and starts playing. You're like, well, this thing's only like 500 kilobytes. Why is this struggling? And it's just GIFs in general are poorly optimized and old technology that probably should have been replaced at some point and just never has, or standardized or something. Like, we need a better format, and there has been better formats that of course nobody really uses. So at the moment, no, there's not a way to do anything like that, and which is probably the reason why it's never taken off. Like, there's no sets of animated logos out there. Let's make our own format. And that's the thing. Like, do you make something, put a lot of work into something that doesn't actually currently exist? Like, it's like, here's a feature. And you know what? Hyperspin did that, right? Hyperspin came out and said, look at this great new feature that we added. It's animated logos. But there wasn't any animated logos for anybody to use. So while, and of course they used an antiquated system in SWF, but it was just like, okay, thanks for giving it to us, but since there is no content for them, I can't use it. Flash, yeah. Hyperspin uses Flash for animation. Okay, so let's eyeball it. How big is the... Actually, that's not too bad. It's not perfect. Oops. Not too bad. Yeah, Dave, yeah. The GIF is really the only universal standard, but the GIF player in Big Box has memory leaks, and that's true. But to top that off, is just not optimized great. Like, if you added 10 GIFs into a view, even if they were small, that view would severely lag when loading into. Just the way, like, I don't know if there's a way to get around that, to be honest. And here's a couple things. So, Artemis, you're having problems with the functionality of the PC88. I've actually never used the PC88. I don't know, maybe somebody has, but I definitely recommend that you go to the forums and see if you can find somebody that also uses that. And Mr. Retrolust, how you doing? Glad you can make it to part of the stream. Always good to see you. And Ernest Benjamin, what are we working on? So the gist is that I am working on a port of the colorful theme in the community theme creator. And you can see, and today I'm particularly working on the text list view and trying to make it as good as I can. And if it's in, yeah, so 10 videos on the screen is not better than 10 GIFs. Actually, they're both terrible, right? Absolutely. But one video doing the same thing as 10 GIFs would be better. All right, so you'd have to just create a video that's just doing whatever those GIFs are doing. Would probably be the way, as a theme developer, I would want to go down towards that route. Okay. All right, Dave. I'll have to talk to you about this later. But I think, I mean, let me see where we are. I don't even know how this theme's doing in relation to what we got. Versus what we need to add. A lot of the stuff I had already added, right? So I don't really need to do a lot of work. And surprisingly, this view is almost identical to the games view that I had created. So by copying and pasting the games view, let me just double check that's actually right. Let's look at the animation. So that goes away and then it comes back, right? There you go. That goes away, it comes back just like the real theme. And the cool thing that I did is I actually did the calculations. Okay, I wonder if that's going to be a problem. Down here. I can fix that. So the way it's doing that swipe here is that the platform name is just playing here. It's just sitting here. And then inside of the frame, and above it is a frame that will swipe away. And the frame gets resized based on this element, which is another platform name that will resize the frame. And one thing that I think we need to do here, thought this would have a margin or something, padding. Okay, maybe that's what I need. That should fix it, so you shouldn't see the bottom of the text. There we go, perfect. And the only other thing that I'll have to do is figure out a way to make the background. So the background in general, let me just take the same color that it should be. So the background should be this color here, this green. And it should change based on the same condition. Let's find the wheel. And for now, what I'll have to do is I will have to copy and paste which I'm not sure if there's a good way for me to do this right now. I might have to do that later because we're gonna have to dive into this code. And much rather answer your questions, Harry. Yeah, this whole live stream is basically for you guys to ask me questions. So keep asking me questions, everybody. In the meantime, I'm only doing the colorful theme just as something to do in the background because I love theming. Can we use a video file with alpha channel as a placeholder for every platform? Let's just say flames rising from the bottom of the screen and then play platform video behind it. Okay, so first, to answer your question, there's no alpha channel in videos, right? So videos need to have a particular alpha channel to do that, to have sort of transparency. And I don't know 100% all of the different video types of files that do that. One of them I know is the WebM format, which is not heavily used or supported. And it's not really supported in by Microsoft really in any meaningful way. I wonder if there's a way to do sort of like a color, a chroma key sort of thing, but I haven't heard of anything, so I'm not sure if that's even possible with a plugin or anything like that to like chroma key away a part of a video. For that instance, you might want to talking about you might want to look at using a GIF or something. Like if you're using one GIF on a view where that GIF isn't really too big or doing too much, it should be okay. I've done that in the past. It's been fine. But in saying that, would it make more sense to render the flames in the video itself? Maybe that makes more sense and could potentially optimize that theme. Unless you're wanting something in between those two layers really, really badly. That would be the only reason you'd need a separation, right? I mean, other than needing to jump into the XAML and stylize all this stuff, I think we're basically done this part of it, which is really faster than I thought it would be. So, I mean, what other view is there? Okay, so we've done this one. And then there's this one, which is exactly the same, but has a smaller text size. Do a lot of people use this view? I mean, I'll do it anyway, but I'm just curious. It has a smaller text box size, scrolling text box size, and then a much larger size to the box. Almost double. It's doubling the size. Doubling the size, so I just have to make it bigger. Okay. And then it's kind of curious that he added the age. So he called it age and he's showing like an age number, which is kind of interesting. Which I guess makes more sense for people in all regions. You know, 13 plus would be something or other. And Matt, you're saying you'd rather the description be bigger. Yeah, and I think that's why this is a secondary view, right? That's why people probably used the first view, and Viking probably thought, you know, people are going to use that first one more. And he probably preferred. You can almost see in theme developer design, their optimal view, their view that they probably use is the first one. And then they've created this one based on some user input that somebody wanted. And that's probably how Viking did it. But yeah, I mean, that is really tiny, right? Text box. Like, I got almost... I mean, I'm not sure about the scrolling text boxes. For me, let's say I wanted to read it right now. I couldn't because at the bottom, and I have to wait for it to scroll to the top for me to read what's happening there. And it's like, okay, waiting. Okay, there we go. Out of the cockpit and into epic adventure. And if you're like reading too slow, or you start reading as soon as it moves, now you're like under the gun, right? It's like at the far edge of the Lilat system, an army of diabolical dinosaurs shattered the tranquil world of Dinosaur Planet. You're like, oh god, the future looks bleak until Fox McCloud enters the fray. And it's almost like I'm reading in a competition or something, fighting myself. But here we go. Okay, so what do you guys think? And man, Naguts, hopefully I'm kind of pronouncing that right. So you're saying, and first, I am having a wonderful day. It's always a good day when I get to pop open the stream for all of you guys. And you do have 2 questions. So question number 1, let's read it. Can you make a kind of franchise view to go along with the platforms? Okay, you might have to explain what you are hoping to accomplish by a franchise view. So what does that mean to you? And then I can answer that. Second one, can you make an option to play different versions of the same game? Okay, so the second question I can answer, and the answer is yes. That option exists already. So if you in LaunchBox, if you've combined 2 different games that are basically 2 different versions of the same game in Big Box, that will automatically show up. This is more seen in the arcade view. So if you do a full set of arcade views, like you see a lot of other front ends do like one. Oh, I'm not even in arcade, am I? They'll pick out one to keep their collection small. They'll pick out one game, arcade game. But the problem is that every single arcade game has so many different versions. Like if you just look at this screen, like The Simpsons had so many different versions that had different kinds of controllers and 2-player, 4-player. X-Men had a 6-player version that did double widescreen. And so all of these versions LaunchBox already will condense them into one game. So let's take a look at X-Men as an example. And if you're in here, you can launch with additional apps or versions. And here's all of the different versions that have come out. And, as it's, it all makes sense if you know all of the different versions of arcade boards and stuff. A lot of it goes over my head. But at least it tells me, okay, this will be a 2-player version, this will be a 4-player version, and of course the 6-player versions. And you can launch them, and it'll play those. And you'll definitely have to clarify that first question, and then I can answer that for you. The Sega Genesis handheld. I do remember there's... And you could be referring to one of 2 different things. So you'll have to let me know which one you're referring to. Either you're referring to just the Game Gear, less likely I feel, or you're referring to the Sega Nomad, which I believe that's what it was called, which was technically a Sega Genesis handheld, but it wasn't its own system. It just played Sega Genesis games on like a portable joystick or controller with a screen. It was almost like, instead of it, to me, I don't think of it as a system. And I think of it more like they were selling a portable TV screen that I could play Sega Genesis on it. If that makes sense. Just as I wouldn't think, like, I don't know if you guys read up on that Nintendo partnered with, I can't remember which company, and they created a Nintendo TV. So there's these Nintendo TVs out there where you can go and just buy a TV and it has Nintendo built into it. But I wouldn't consider that a different system than the Nintendo Entertainment System. I would just consider it that they put a Nintendo Entertainment System inside of a TV. But I hope that's what you're referring to. Something like that, right? And Harry, you're saying, will there be a Retrotastic 2? I feel like I released at least a Retrotastic version of the theme creator, which I don't remember what I called, maybe 3.0. And big resource heavy theme. You're right, Ernesto. That was one where I was just like, let's play. Let's just play with the with XAML and see what the heck I could do. Just like silly stuff. Let's move everything and bounce everything around and do crazy things. And hey, why don't we get together and create, remember Harry? Create like backgrounds for 150 systems. Like the theme was done in 2 weeks or something, and then it took us 4 months to make backgrounds. Oh man, that was awesome. But so much time. Like that's like literally all we're doing is creating backgrounds. I actually saw, this was like randomly, I was watching some video on YouTube about somebody's favorite games or something, and they were using one of the banners or one of the backgrounds from Retrotastic. Somehow they downloaded Retrotastic, took the background, I think it was like the PlayStation background or something, from the theme, and then just used it in their video to highlight some PlayStation 2 game that they were playing. I don't remember which video that was. That was surprising. And I was just like randomly watching it one night. Yeah, Ernesto. It's the graphics, it's the Photoshop work that takes a lot of time. Right? The coding part, we can create it quickly, and then we can sort of mull around a bit and try to optimize it. And cool. Here's the question you're asking. What you mean was an option to select something like a collection view for a franchise. Ah, okay, like a series or something, right? So like you could have a platform that could say, here's all of my Castlevania games, or here's all the Mario games that came out, and you can control what's in that sort of franchise. That's what you're talking about. Like a playlist, right? If we call it like a playlist of a particular series, franchise, or limited to whatever that you want. And I'm assuming, it sounds like this is what you want. And the answer is like 100% completely yes. That's already built into LaunchBox, and you have full control over what you want those franchises or series to look like, based on whatever criteria that you want. And that's actually called, I don't have it, there's two ways you could do it. Both of them are creating playlists. So you can create your own playlist, and then you can tell it specific, a specific command, let's call it, that's a bad word, a specific, say like, and here's mine. So here's a playlist I did for Mario, my Mario collection, right? And in here, I basically said, I basically came here and I said, if the title contains the word Mario, create it. And then I press enter, and it took all the games that had Mario in the title, and then it populated it. then I turned off auto-populated playlist, and I looked through all of the games that it came through, and I eliminated any of the ones that didn't fit into what I thought a Mario game would look like, and then I pressed OK. And now I have a list of all the games that had the word Mario that actually contain the character Mario in it. Right? So that's what you mean, right? And I could do the same thing with something like Zelda. I could say, and I can even put more limitations on. I could say, I want games that contain the word Zelda in the title that came out between this year and that year. Isn't that really cool? And then you can take this playlist and I can say in Big Box, I go into this Parents tab and I can say in Big Box, I want that playlist to appear inside where all my other consoles are, or within the playlists category here. I want it to appear there, or I want it to appear in the handheld, or wherever you want it to appear. And you can just click. Maybe I want it to appear in the root. You can click there and it'll appear there. And then in Big Box, it will show up there. And then you can give the Mario collection like a video. Like you can download Mario collection theme videos. And so when you go, and you can get a little logo for it. And yeah, Big Box and LaunchBox completely open for all of that, which is awesome. And much more flexible and can basically do whatever you want. And there's lots of people out there have created and dedicated icons, logos, backgrounds, and stuff that you can go and download for it over on our forums. Yeah, and there's people out there that have created hundreds of collections. I think at that point, like, it's cool, but if I'm going to create hundreds of collections, I might as well just use our robust search functionality. If I wanted to search for for Castlevania, I could go to all games and search for the word Castlevania, and then all of the Castlevania games show up. And then I don't have to have a particular playlist for it. So there's lots of different ways that you can go about it depending on how you want your big box collection to look. That's the power of the flexibility and the openness that LaunchBox provides everybody. Oh, Harry, you have a Broken Sword collection video on the forum. I feel like I could be wrong, but I added. No, I didn't add it in this one. I thought I added all the Broken Sword games, so I have them all on like GOG or Steam or something. And like, there it is. The game from 1998 or something like that, 1999. And this is the remake from 2008. Nice. I'm glad it's exactly what you were thinking, and that we already have it in the program. Yeah, there's actually a ton of hidden, not really hidden functionality that was added to LaunchBox that then got forgotten by a lot of people that came and downloaded the program afterwards that nobody talks about, which is kind of interesting. And then at one point somebody will be like, is this possible? And then we realize, it's already possible. Like, it was added so long ago. So you never know, right? You never know. It might seem like it's not possible, but it just may be possible in a different way than you're actually thinking, but accomplishes the same result. And while I'm saying all this, I'm not actually theming, am I? I wouldn't mind knowing, and this came on the top of my head, what's everybody's favorite game that you don't know anybody else that liked? Like some obscure game that you somehow grew up with and you still love, and you consider it like an amazing game, but for some reason no one else has heard of or enjoyed, or like George Stobart for Prez. And Ernesto, yeah, like, how did I miss this feature? It's like it's somewhere, and I didn't realize that is there. And then like that happens to me. Ernesto, Bomberman 64. Dot hack infection. I have seen that. And that's true. Like I never played that game. I have played Bomberman 64. And that's because I did used to growing up. We always go to my grandfather's house and had lots of cousins, and we would always bring our 64, and we would always be trying to find those games that allowed up to 4 players during that time period of the 64. So we played all of those multiplayer 4-player games, and Bomberman 64 was definitely one of them. For me, and this is one where like I don't know any family members, friends, nobody, like people played it as a popular game. I just don't personally know anybody that has played this game, and it kind of went into obscurity for a while, though it's been back. They did a remake that wasn't that great. That was a game called Outcast. What's it called? Outcast. Let's see, Outcast. And then of course it's got like this generic name, Outcast, where other like movies and stuff has been created, so you can't even like really search for just Outcast. I think there might even be another game. I always confuse it with other games like Outpost and Is there another game called Outcast? It was a game that came out in like the late 90s. And it was this huge, for people that don't know, it was this huge action adventure hybrid, mostly adventure game that spanned big worlds, not worlds, but like areas. And you had full control over what you were doing and how you were doing. It was just like, it was the first time it felt like a living, breathing world that you just got to play around with an actual huge epic storyline that's happening as you're going through it. And it was only, actually, I don't know how many systems it was out for, but I played it on the computer, and it was created using, at the time, their own engine that did not gracefully scale well. Like, at all. So, yeah, it did not age well. but it was an engine where they needed it because it was the first time where they're building these giant like areas, and they were sort of generating like far into the distance, and all of their characters actually had like they did something. Like there was a city, and each person was like on the move, and they had like their own actions that they were doing, like they were, and you never know where someone's going to be at any given time. So yeah, and they did do a remake, kind of a half remake. So they improved the graphics. So that's out. I think Outcast something for anybody that's never played it. Let's see, Outcast Second Contact they did, which was more recent. And by more recent, I mean 2017. So that's it. And so anyway, I played it back in the day. The original, I guess it's on GOG. It had even like an epic score. Like they had this an orchestra come in and like record a huge epic soundtrack for it. But yeah, you'll see here that it did not age gracefully. Oh no, wait, this is Second Contact. No, it isn't. It's did not age gracefully, I should say. Actually, we probably shouldn't have the sound, should I? Yeah, this was 1990 something. That's an odd view. And they created their own system with voxels and stuff back then. Anyway, love to hear your guys. The Last Ninja, of course, Harry, that's your thing. The Last Ninja 4 of the Commodore 64, specifically. ESPN X games, PS1. That's interesting. Never played that. I had a PS1 with tons of games. And Freak Style on PS2. And Mr. Retrolust, you're saying Green Dog. Yeah, I've never even heard of that one either. Huh. That's interesting. I'll have to look that up. Vector Man, Matthew, you're saying Vector Man on the Sega Genesis. I have heard of that and have not played it, so that's interesting. Valkyrie, I have heard of that game on the PS2, so that's cool, and never played it. Leaderboard Golf and Dizzy games. I have played the Dizzy games, but not on the ZX Spectrum. Nidhogg, I don't even know what that is. That's crazy. Total Annihilation. I have played that, and StarCraft. I remember when that came out. That was a big deal. And Mr. Retroless, you don't like the Dizzy games. Some of them are, they were doing their own thing, and it was kind of annoying. Chameleon Twist on the N64. I did play that when it came out. I think I rented it. That's awesome. I'll see all these games that everybody. GameSack. You'll have to remind me to look into that. All right. We can do this. Got a bit more time. And let me think, what is the best way to go about creating a second game view for this colorful theme? I think the best way is to take this one, which basically has all of the functionality that we need. We're going to paste that into a second games view. So wheel 2, I guess. And we'll paste that. All right, let's look at a different game. Talking about the Sega Genesis a bit here. Look at all you guys. What was the Sega Genesis game that I was reading? Vector Man. Let's look at Vector Man. 1 or 2? I guess number 1. First ones are usually better. 1995. Look at this. Now, in our own libraries, we can just go and take all those names, look up, see if we have them, and see what the game is. Oh, I completely remember this game. Oh, I wish I had this game when I was a kid. I would have loved this game. That looks so fluid. The motion. Yeah, that's really cool. Okay. Let's take a look. Let's go in here. And see what we have to do. Here's what's great. Do I have Big Box open? No. I have to open it up one more time. Just so that we can get a little bit of an idea of what we have to do here. Ernesto, Echo the Dolphin. Oh my god. The first time I ever heard of Echo the Dolphin was at a friend's birthday party, and his parents got it for him for his birthday. And we were so excited. We spent the rest of the day playing Echo the Dolphin. And I just have vivid memories of being like, this is the best graphics ever. As a little kid. It's like, wow, look at the doll. It looks like a dolphin. And it's moving, and we were controlling it. Oh man. Okay. Let's go take a look at what this looks like. And I have the same stuff with the Nintendo 64. It's like, wow. This is the best ever. Like Gauntlet Legends, that's another one of my guilty pleasures right there. Oh god, where is it? I probably have it favorited somewhere. There it is. We're just like, wow, look at those graphics. Look at this. I can hear the guy saying, like, welcome to the mountains. Yeah, that just crazy. Anybody know any obscure arcade games that you saw growing up in the arcade and then no one else remembers them ever? Like, you're just like, I can't find one other person that's ever seen this arcade game in my life other than myself, but I'm pretty sure it was like right in this arcade. Like everybody had a chance to see it. And so I had like a huge vivid memory of a game growing up, and I went with my family to a sort of almost like an amusement park hotel in Canada or in Ontario in a place called Chatham. It doesn't exist anymore. It was like a theme park, had roller coasters, arcade, bumper cars, like within a hotel. And there was an arcade inside of it. And the arcade, I kind of remember I was a kid, but I don't know. It was huge, like big arcade. And there was a joystick with like one button or something. And it was just like big circle or something, or not quite circular, but sort of circular. And small, short. And you would be looking into it, and you would look in to some sort of glass or something. And like inside was holograms of people, like characters of like, I think a video of humans, and they were like doing stuff. The guy was traveling through time, and you would control him, and you put in the money, and then all of a sudden you have control over some cowboy that's traveling through time, trying to stave off of different time periods. And they were holograms. They were like holograms, and the background was like black. So it was like he was floating inside the arcade, like he was really there. Right? And of course, now we all know, what is that? That's Time Traveler. For the longest time, I had no idea what this was, right? Because this was back in 1990 or something like that. I didn't know. I was a kid. And so, 10 years later, 15 years later, you're telling people, what is this game? Like the hologram game. And no one knows what you're talking about. Because and yeah, Harry, it was made by Sega. Partially, I think it was produced by that American Laser Games or whatever. This is a Laserdisc game, essentially. And it mesmerized me as a kid. I just remember, like, man, the game sucks. like seriously, like try to play the game now, and it's like any other Laserdisc game. You'd have to know your timing really, really well. But as a kid, yeah, that mesmerized the heck out of me. The whole 3D hologram type of scenario. Just crazy. Okay. Going back and forth, you're seeing that, sort of seeing how it is. Good news is that the way that I built this, everything's parented, which means that this is it this? What's this? Wait, I'm not on it. There we go. Yeah, it's this. This right here. So this stack contains every element down to the title. So essentially, all I have to do is move this up, and it moves everything up in perfect alignment, keeping all the animations and sizing that I want in place. Now let me just use my finger. So I'm just going to put my finger on this N, and I see that I've got a little bit more to go. Okay, I went a little too far, but not too much. I think can I hold control and press down? Yeah, there we go. Now let's take a look at that. Perfect. Okay, so this is not even that much work. Okay, so now let's worry about this tiny itty bitty text control scroller. So let's worry about the top of it. It's the top of it here. Oh, I took it too high actually. Although, you know, that's not a bad thing. We kind of need this to be a bit bigger than what it normally is, don't we? Okay, so here. Oh man, that's gonna be small. Okay, even further. Okay. How about there? Okay, now I went too far. Let's bring that down to about here now. Perfect-ish. Yeah, Metro Restaurant, it was magic. That's what it felt like as a kid, right? Some of those arcade games were just crazy magic. That one in particular, I don't know why for me. That and virtual reality. And here's something I don't think anybody... Here's the most obscure thing I ever took part in. Actually, there's two things that were very obscure. One was more obscure than the other one. So I was part of a virtual... I took virtual reality... I guess it was a virtual reality arcade at the time at a theme park. And there might have been 2 or 4 virtual reality headsets in this big, no, I'm saying big, but like you would stand in sort of like a pod, and that was with just kind of railings that were circular around you so that you wouldn't veer off. And they put this giant headset on your head and give you some controllers that were supposed to act like a gun. And then you would join. I just slightly remember, I was a kid, so I slightly remember that there was some like tutorial. They made you like look down at your feet, look at your hands, which you could move, which was just magical. And then they put you into this void. So like everywhere was sort of like a void with platforms, you know, like the old, really old 90s, old school pixelated 3D platforms that you're standing on. And those platforms are like lots of different platforms with like ramps or ladders leading to the different platforms. And the 4 players, either 2 to 4 players, I can't really remember. And I was doing it with, I think, my cousin or friend or something, I can't remember. And we were basically, it was a PvP matchup. We would be shooting each other. Like first person to like shoot each other. It was like our first death match that we were ever part of. And it was virtual reality. Like what that was called, or I have no idea. Like we did it once, we were there. I remember vividly what it looks like, but you know, like skewed because I haven't done it or seen it since I was a kid. And I have no idea what the game was called, and I have no idea what company it was, why it was there. Like, but it was just like, that was another magical moment that made me fall in love with virtual reality. And to me as a kid, you're thinking, wow, like, you know, 1990 virtual reality, or 1994, let's say, 95. Like, virtual reality is like around the corner. This is crazy. Like, we're going to have virtual reality in no time. Like, I just did it. And then, of course, we know how that went. It basically became a fad, faded out of existence, and we never saw it again until recently. All right, here's going to be the hardest part of this. Yeah, now virtual reality is everywhere. It's a thing, all thanks to Oculus just bringing it back into the forefront, really. And since then, because of that one experience that I had as a kid, I'm like, I need virtual reality. Like an Oculus came out, and I'm like, I want this experience. Hey, Bobby One. Hopefully you're doing good today. Joining in our retro reminiscent conversation of all these games and stuff. So I bypassed it. It was just so much money, and I couldn't get into it when it came out, like the Oculus and the Vive especially was so expensive. And I didn't have a computer that could support it. My computer was fine, other than that it couldn't play VR games. And so I just, like, I can't upgrade my computer and buy a virtual reality headset. First generation, I knew it was first generation, and you know what that means, that they're basically testing the market, and that's not the best it could be, and they're working out the kinks. So you're buying a $2,000 thing, you know, a computer that supports it plus the headset, knowing that you're a tester. No problem, Bobby. So you have an HTC Vive. So there you go. So you bought into it, and I would have loved to do that if I had the money. And so I didn't. So I waited, and then there was like a Black Friday sale one day where I saw one of those Windows mixed reality headsets, and I thought, okay, like not having virtual reality versus having not the best virtual reality. And then I'm like, I might as well. I'd rather have it and experience virtual reality. And the headset was like $120 on, like, heavily discounted, 75% off. Like the HP mixed reality headset. I'm like, I'm just gonna buy it. And that was the first time I experienced virtual reality in this day and age, using the old HP mixed reality headset. And it, like, that blew me away. Again, like the one-to-one motion controllers. Like, I was sold on Wii when it came out, Nintendo Wii, because of the motion controllers, because of the experience I had in virtual reality when I was a kid. And of course, we all know the whole wiggle motion of the Wii controllers, sort of disappointing, but it still was like magical when it came out, playing the Wii Sports and all that stuff. And then the Motion Plus controllers, and then you go to VR, and it's like literally one-to-one motion, like perceptibly, and then that just blew my mind. And then you can play games, yeah, like Bobby, you're saying, like Beat Saber. I went and got, like, researched all of the virtual reality games, Beat Saber, all of the like Dungeons and Dragons style game. I wanted to feel like I was a hero and had swords and shields and stuff. So I researched all those games and played those ones. And then, researched, MMO experiences and just any kind of experience, movies, virtual reality movie. And I did that for a while. And it was just amazing to just not be able to do it. And then all of a sudden you're able to do it. Like that experience. Versus the experience of, like, having a computer versus having a better computer. Yeah, it's better, but I could already do everything that I could do before. Now I can do it faster. It's like that difference. It's like, do you want an experience you can't possibly do until you get it? Or do you want a better experience of something you already can do? And then And then the next thing is I bought the Oculus 2. So I waited off the Oculus Quest, and then I went into the Oculus Quest 2 and bought that because my one complaint was, of course, like the wire. I kept stepping on the wire coming out of the headset, and when I gave it to somebody else to use, they would keep stepping on the wire, or you'd have to keep reminding them, like as they're playing, like watch out for the wire, if they're not used to it. And the Oculus Quest basically solves that, right? You can use the Oculus Quest 2, and you can stream your PC VR games to the Oculus Quest in a couple different ways. And as long as you have a good network, which we have here, like you're golden. You're able to have a tether-free PC VR experience, and it's just amazing. Hey, Gautami, how you doing today? Thanks for joining. Hopefully you're doing good. And thank you so much, Bobby One Kenobi, I should say. Yeah, even though there's the language barrier, hopefully you understood enough. And does that mean, Bobby One Kenobi, that you are from France? Or a different country that speaks French? You know, it's always a great day when I can theme, and I think I'm getting to the point where I can. You know what? Today was been great, just because even though I love to theme, I love just hanging out with everybody and talking about games and reminiscing on all the different games. I love learning about new games. Bad at English. Maybe you can learn it slowly. I mean, I had friends that couldn't understand me when I met them. I had a friend that came from Shanghai, and he I couldn't say his name. I think his name was Yuting, and then he decided to call himself Tommy. And when I met him, he did not speak English at all, and he came to Canada to go to school, like knowing that he didn't understand English, like one bit of it. And so when I met him, he would just like nod his head and smile like to everything that you said, because no idea what you were saying. And hung out with him for like 3 years. It was about 3 years. And by the end, we could have conversations together. I am very concerned about a couple things here. I'm concerned about this, because I copied and pasted this. This is supposed to be the portable icon. There we go. I'm going to have to fix that in other places. And Bobby, am I the creator of Big Box? I'm not the creator of Big Box. That privilege goes to Jason. I am the product manager of Big Box. So I am, I was a fan of Big Box, and then more recently came on board as an employee. Okay, so solve that. Now let's solve the hardest part here, and let's see how I did it. I think it's this. There you go. So there is a white block here. You can see that. And this white block is, the height is 230.4 for some reason. I think I know why I did that. I actually did the math of exactly how high this was. Let's double it. 460.8. Oh no. Let me think of how before I actually do that. That won't actually make sense for me to do it that way. Okay. So it makes more sense if I make this bigger like that. There you go. And then I make the white block 460.8. There you go. So that made it bigger. And then the info grid is taking on the same size. The max player is not taking on the same size. It's this one. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this one needs to be 230, 460.8, which doubles that size. There you go. Okay, so far so good. And then there is this left triangle, which also needs to be 460.8. There you go. And then the last piece here is probably this, and this one. Okay, so let's do this one at a time. So we're going to copy this one and we're going to paste this. We're going to paste this. I believe this is pasting inside of a grid. So because of that, grids work as just like open canvases. Like, they work like, wait, what's going on? That didn't do what I wanted to do. Anybody see it? It's there somewhere. Ah, I see why. So this would have to be 0 by 0. But then the Y position would have to then be put to 230. Which means start at halfway down. Look at that. My brother would be proud. And that would make more sense if you knew that my brother's a math teacher. And I am not good at math. Okay, so now I gotta do the same thing here. Maybe I can... let's think about that. Maybe instead... No, I should just do the same thing. Just think about this, actually. The only thing I don't see here is the middle separator that I added. How did I do that? Oh, here it is. And it's inside of... Oh no, it's inside of... Oh no, it's not inside. Okay, so I just have to make this wider? No, I don't, because this is an image. So I got to duplicate this, copy and paste this one. And we'll just call this separator bottom. And now we also have to move this to 20 to 460.8. Look at that. I changed the height, which was exactly not what I wanted to do. I need to change the Y position. So just 230.4. So move that down. There we go. So far, so good. There you go. Look at that. Okay, so the last step here is I'm going to copy this one, I guess. I'm going to paste it, but I'll figure out the best way I'm going to do this. So 230.4 would be the Y position. So 230.4. There it goes. And now I have to figure out what the X position is based off of the one that I've already created there, which is this one. This one. Community rating stack. And then I've got to do this one here based off of that community rating X position. So I'll take the X position and paste it on there. Okay, we got the positions and we got the elements that we need to do. All of them are release date years. And he used a birthday icon for that. But that's not what is here. Here he's using some sort of age icon and player count icon. So let's take a look at which one we're going to do first. Let's concentrate on the age icon, which actually will be a little more difficult. So let's concentrate on the max player. So this is like the maxed player stack. Here's the image. So this is the max player image. And for that one, I'm going to change the image to, like I've already copied over all of his image files. I have to find it. Players? Yeah, there we go. And he called it player. And then he's adding the max player count. So this one where it says release date, this will become the max player. I can't do that, can I? Oh, that was a mistake. Oh, there's nothing we can do about it though. So let's create a text box. We're going to bring it down to the same location as that. I'm going to say copy and paste layout. Paste. What else can I paste here? Appearance. Paste foreground. Paste. I don't think I have effects, or I'll paste alignment. I don't know if I'm doing that. And now I've got to copy all of the text data over manually. So let's do that. Get the size in there. We'll get Roboto Bold going. And then we'll have to get the, I guess we'll center that. What else did I do? Oh, that's about it. Okay. And then of course this one we're going to have to use the metadata of max players. So maximum players, there it is. And we should see it. Yeah. So now I don't need this release year layer. And David, you're saying, is there a way to force a game list wheel to be text only, no images? So you're looking for the image cover flow wheel. I'm just trying to extrapolate. So you don't want to use a text list to be your text list. You want the cover flow icon or clear logo wheel to be your text list. Is that what I'm hearing? And then maybe you can explain your use case here. Like you want the wheel, like is it that you like the functionality and the flow of the wheel over the text list? Or do you like a view that particularly uses the wheel, but you'd rather that same exact view with text instead? There is two ways that I can think of that you can accomplish this. Neither are great, because remember that the wheel itself is just an image. Like, if Jason built the wheel, the coverflow wheel, and just basically said, okay, place an image here for the clear logo image, then what would happen is if there wasn't a clear logo image, it would just be blank. Right? There would just be nothing there. And instead, with some of those coverflow images, he's decided, I don't think it's all of them, he decided to add an image, because, you know, it's calling an image, right? He decided to auto-generate images on your behalf. So literally, it's not text, what you see in those wheels. He auto-generates the image based on the title of the game, and then displays that image that looks like text. And that's what the wheel view is doing. So if you think about that, not having text or not having an image is auto-generating images as like the fallback. Like, that's what it was doing. That's what it like natively does in most cases. So, in saying that, if you just want images based on your library of games that look like text, then the best solution that you could do to have the most control over it would be for you to use the community theme creator. Okay? This is a pretty cool question, because like actually thinking about how does it work, right? Because it looks like text, but it's not text. It's actually an image that looks like text. So why not just create your own images that look like text in the community theme creator, right? Because the only reason you wouldn't is because, you know, it takes a long time. I don't want to create an image of text for every single one of my games. I have thousands of games. So instead, the community theme creator, I can go here to custom images, and the way that I'd probably do it is I would come here and I would, I don't know, create whatever size you want. Whatever makes sense to you. And then, so black here is actually transparent. And I would just add a text element. I don't know why the text element's over there. That is odd. Let's do 0 and 0. Cool. And now I would basically say metadata, the game. Oop, that's genre. Game. And then I would come here and I could format it so uppercase. I have control over, well, what font do I want it to be? Maybe I want it to be this font. And then maybe I want it to be this color. Or maybe I want the font to have an effect. So like maybe like a drop shadow, and I can build a drop shadow directly into the image, which actually does save on performance, that they don't have to render a drop shadow, as an example. And then I can say, go here, direction. I can make this centered, or I can put it off to the side. So if I wanted a centered list, I could have it. Or I could have a left justified or right justified. And then I can make this bigger. And then I would say something like, oh, and this is where I think Dave will eventually get around to it. But I probably just have to ask him. I'm not sure if you're still around, Dave, the guy, creator of the theme creator. But you can basically say, I want the size of the text to go only this big. Maybe I don't need it. Maybe I just do this. Yeah, I don't know what I'm thinking. Ignore that. So I would do something like this. Actually, why am I doing that? This is just an image. So yeah, this makes more sense as the complete size. And then I would come down here and say, yeah, wrap with overflow. And then I would save that. And literally, like all of these will generate an image that looks exactly like this at the same size, whatever the size is. So then if the name gets too big, it would wrap. And I could probably control the spacing if I want to there. And then up here, I would basically say, hey, why don't I generate me images? So render custom image for all of my games. I can literally press this button and it would render it for all of my 20,000 or something games, or just for this one platform. So I'm in the Sega Genesis platform right now, or just for this one game. And so let's say if I click it, now I'm just going to watch it generate these images for me. Oh, also, this image, this button here, and just you can go either way, will determine the file name of it. So if you uncheck this, it will now save the name of the files to the exact name of the games based on what LaunchBox and BigBox will use. Or if I click that, it will save the name of the files as whatever the associated database ID is. And that's useful for theme creators creating their own themes and needing special images that match database IDs, which I can get into later. That's what I would do. I don't know if that makes sense, David, but you would have all of your images that look like text, and you would make it so Big Box would not have to generate its own text images. You would get what you want. Big Box gets the image that it wants, and you probably save in performance since Big Box doesn't have to generate images for you on the fly, which, it's doing something that could potentially cause a tiny bit of lag. And now you're basically telling it, no, don't do it. I got it for you. I've got an image for all my games. And so, yeah, I guess win-win. You can even color this. There's huge gradient colors and all sorts of cool things that you can do with this program. Yeah, you can see here I started the download. It remembers how many images that it's that it has made for me, and it keeps track of the position, and I can just continue for it to generate images later if I wanted it to, which is kind of funny. Continue rendering custom images? No. All right. Yeah, hopefully that's a great question. So I have heard that a lot. There are themes that use icons or themes that use text or something, right? Instead of the logo. And at first you look at it and you go, wow, that's really clever. What did they do? Build an icon solution or build a text solution that looks like wheels? No, they just made an image that looks like text, or they just made an image that looks like a tiny icon. And they're just using it in their theme in a clever way. Okay. We're getting there. Wow. I didn't think we'd actually, I was planning on only creating the text view. That went so fast. I did not realize it would go so fast that now we're almost done this one. So we've got the number one. The bottom text is just static text that I'm going to call players. And what the theme creator, and what I can do more than what he does here. Okay. And this is just player. But imagine that this was 2 or 4 players. I don't want it to say 4 player. I want to say 4 players, and I've done this in the past for anybody watching the previous videos. You can do that in the theme creator, although it's a little complicated. I basically need to get a dock. So a dock will dock things from left to right. And I'm going to put this dock just above the players. And I'm going to copy and paste the layout of the players because that's exactly where I need it to do. And then I'm going to put players inside of it. See what I got. Okay, so I got something exactly. So now I can copy and paste this layer. So I've got basically 2 layers that say player, player, and they should be next to each other. As long as something that I'll have to do is I'll have to auto size these. I'm going to auto size both the width and the height. And now I should have, oh yeah, oh, that didn't work very well, did it? I'm super smart. The dock needs to be centered. There we go. That's better. So I got player and player. So literally I want this to just be the letter S. I'm just going to change it manually to the letter S. Okay, so and now I have to put the logic behind it. So basically I want to say only show the letter S. Or maybe I do it the other way. Don't show the letter S if the game only has 1 player. And I can do that using visibility conditions. So I'll take the S and I'll go up here to visible, and I basically click on the conditions button and say add a condition, collapse it. And the reason I collapse it, and I talked about it, like there's the 3 options here. 2 of them are basically, they're both hidden and collapsed. Collapsed makes it so that it doesn't take up any virtual space on the screen, whereas hidden, it's still technically there, you just can't see it. So by collapsing it, and I'm allowing the rest of the other text player to auto center itself without having the letter S there, so that it'll look more centered. If you leave it as hidden, the player will probably look off centered a little bit because people won't be able to see the S that makes it centered. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to say, okay, so if maximum players, if the value is equal or less than 1, how about that? That's good. I don't know if there's ever a game where you can only have 0 players, but I guess there's a game where it could potentially be blank. And then I wonder what it would do. I wonder if blank's the same as 0 or nothing. I'll have to ask Dave about it later. Okay, so that should basically do it. So I'm done this block. Let's work on this block. And if I'm looking at this block's harder, and I'll go to it because right here you can see that there's a text and it says 13 plus. Well, we don't actually have text that says 13 plus anywhere unless you manually add that to your library. And instead, our database will download stuff that looks like ESRB ratings. And so, how do we get around that? I mean, that's a good question. How do we get around that? Okay, so I'm going to go here. I'm going to paste this. and delete the release date. Okay, so release date is a different element that doesn't go together with text blocks. So text, this is max player metadata text, and this is now going to be represented as the content rating, basically, metadata. And then this icon would now be considered the content rating icon. So let's go from the top and bottom. Content rating icon. So what did he call it? Age. He's calling it age. And down here, he actually put the word age. Okay, so this word is going to be the word age text. So I'm just going to change the word here to age. And now I got the top and the bottom good, and now I just have to worry about the middle. And after that, I also have to worry about Renzo. Renzo, I got to worry about your question. And you said, hello, hi. A question with that topic. Is there a way that the image of the cover of your game does not fade and stay next to the video of the game? So you're talking about colorful theme that I'm recreating in the theme creator. And you notice that the regular theme comes in and then only lasts a specific amount of seconds and then goes away. And you want it to just be there. Which funny enough, is the way that it was when Colorful was released. And I guess enough people complained about it that Viking decided to do a compromise by making it appear and then disappear. And yes, there's a way to do that. And it's probably going to be less complicated in the community theme creator once I can finish this and release this version of it to you. So when that happens, what you'll do is you will find the box element in this mess, which I believe is somewhere down here. I say down here, now scrolling up. Here it is, box art. And you can see that there's a little A here saying element has animations. Well, what if you don't want animation? And you can even see that the box will like appear here. And so you would just go down. Here's all of the animations at the bottom of these properties. And I would just delete them all. Done. So now I save it. I publish this theme. And you're going to have a box that just appears over the video in the location that it would appear. Awesome. Cool. For now, I'm going to stay true to Viking's vision. So yeah, so you can see that it coming in and going out are all just animation that are triggered. And literally the animation's like, make it appear, make it move into position, make it sit there for this long, make it come out, and then make it disappear as it moves to the left. And all that's defined in the animation. All right, the last piece of the puzzle here, guys. Oh my God. And it's getting close to the weekend. And here in Canada, it's a long weekend. We got Monday off. So I need this to be the content rating. So why is this confusing? It's confusing because we do have a content rating. It's called ESRB. I'm going to click it and you're going to notice that it's saying T for teen and not saying 13 plus or whatever T for teen would be. And so that's the last piece of the puzzle there. Do I want it to say anything else? Like, how do I make it match whatever Viking had? And I probably have to delve into the plugin because he's definitely using a plugin to convert T for teen or whatever the ESRB thing is to a number instead. And so if I had to guess, I would say I would go into plugins and I would go into the assembly config and open up this normal config. And of course, this resource dictionary mess, I'm going to have to find the converting strings. Here it is, where he says if it said adult only, he's actually saying like actually make it say AO. Oh no, that's not what it means. He's saying if it says any of these, make it say AO instead. And that's also not true. He's basically saying make it say whatever's behind this key, which God, I don't know where that is. That doesn't help me either, right? Because I don't know what he actually wrote in there or what. I guess it's something that's behind the plugin value somewhere. It does it automatically. Let's find out then. Let's go to the theme, which is closed. Let me reopen it. Did I open LaunchBox? I must have. Where's the big box? I have it open somewhere. Whatever, I can't find it. Interesting. I know why. Oh, that's why. I had it open. And this brought me to the wrong page. That's why. Okay. Cool. Okay. Oh, that's crazy. So when you say Renzo, you're saying you usually make your videos to play in Big Box. So you're making videos. And just clarify, does that mean your gameplay videos, like gaming videos? And you're asking what aspect ratio should they be in? Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying platform videos? Like platform theme videos? Because if gaming videos, that's a big question. Because normally people want to see the gameplay video in the original native aspect ratio. So this game, as an example, Blockbuster World Video Game Championship 2, which looks like it's playing a bunch of different games, are would be in 4:3 aspect ratio. That's the original intent. That's what we all saw it when we were kids. That's the ratio. And if you're dealing with the newer games, of course, 16:9, very common. Now, if you're saying always try to stick with the native resolution of whatever you're emulating or playing. If you're wanting to do theme game videos, so like you're building your own theme, your own video to showcase the game, not actually gameplay videos, then that's to your discretion. But I would almost say, if you were unless you're building a specific theme for yourself, stick also with the game's native aspect ratio, because that's what most themes will be built around. Right? So if you want people to use your videos, or you want your videos to conform to most themes, that's what you would want to stick to. Or else you're sort of going against the grain, right? If you're going to make a 16:9 gameplay video for a Sega Genesis game, that video will not fit most themes. Oh, this is going to be a tough one, isn't it? So for now, what I think I'll have to do is the only way to really do this is through a converter or making lots of, I can do it this way. I can create lots of text blocks. So I can create a text block called, and how many text blocks are there? Let me just see here. There's one, whoa, okay, there's more than I thought there was, actually. Actually, that's not all of them. Okay, so let me just see. So, people's... How many ESRB ratings are there? Does anybody remember? Is there 7? Let me look at a game here. Hey Renzo. So yeah, no problem. I'm glad you love LaunchBox and glad you like colorful. There's not that. Oh, there's less than 2, 4, 6, 7. I was right. There's 7, including the not rated one. So here's one way I can do it, and I'm definitely gonna need an image of this. There we go. I'm gonna need that over here. No, okay. Oh, good. And this is how I'll do it today, just so that I have something to show you guys. I'm gonna have to do one element for each thing that we're doing here. Oh. And I'm gonna have to let them be in the same spot, which the only way to do that, that each of those text elements have to live in the same space. And so what I'll have to do is create a grid, which is the only parent element that'll allow me to do that. Put it here. And I'll have to paste the exact same layout there. And now I'm going to put this inside of the grid. So this could be like our content rating grid. And this one, I'm going to have to do one for each one. So what is E for everyone? Of course, now I've got the problem is I don't know what colorful does with the ratings. I don't know how they convert it. How I don't know if Viking decided or it was the plugin creator decided to. So let's go into like, that's probably a bad example. Let's go into let's take a CD, which doesn't have an age. That's okay. This is great. This is probably a bad example as well. All right, we'll go to Dreamcast. They had ESRB at that point, right? So I have 13 plus. That sounds like teen. What do you think, David? What would E be? Like, as far as age? 1, 6, 0? Looks like, actually, maybe he's doing like a dash for E. That's odd, right? Saying like there is no age limit. No, this must be it. 3+, unless this is the one that's like early. So 3+ must be for everybody. E10 is 10+. Oh, there's also an early childhood. What would he put there? 2+? Sort of confusing to me. Is there an early childhood game on the... Is there an educational game anybody knows about? On like PlayStation? Yeah, so ESRB rating is fine. But what happened was the Viking decided to convert those ESRB rating strings to random age limits. What are they?
United States of America to kick off.
Maybe it would make sense if I just say all ages. Does that make sense? Because I don't think a 3-year-old is going to play a family card game fun pack. Yeah, okay. So it doesn't matter what the ages are. It matters how you do it in the editor. So basically what I'll do is I'll do most of them. So let's say I do E for everyone. And that one is actually not E for everyone. It's instead a value called 3+. That's how it looks like in the theme. There you go. And now I'm going to do another one, copy and paste. And there's another one called E10+. E10+, right? And so that one would probably be 10+. And then there's another one called teen. All right. And then so this one's called teen. And so forth. So this would be the actual word 13+. What's next? Mature. What do you guys consider as mature? 18+? Is that what that one is? Something like that, 18+. And we're basically saying, you can start seeing here that they're really grouping together. And it's not making any sense yet. So I'm basically going to say this. I want to collapse all of these. And instead, I'm going to put a condition on each one that says make it visible when the ESRB rating, its value is M mature. Right, so that's the value in our ESRB field. And I'll do the same for teen. I'll say make it visible when the ESRB rating value is T teen. Then I'll do that again here for E10. is, which one was this one? E10. So E10 plus dash everyone 10 plus. And then for everyone, something I should have done is copy and pasted it. But at least I'm cluing in now. E equals everyone. And so essentially, I have now converted the ESRB ratings system to this number age system that he had. Oh, Dave was here before, Mr. Retrolist. M is 17, AO is 18. Huh, okay. Yeah, you never know. Yeah, Dave was here earlier. He's no longer here, although I hear he's going to create a video this weekend to showcase all the features that he's been doing over these last bunch of months. So let's say 17 plus. And then paste. Adult only, and that's 18 plus. This one's visible. Say AO, adult only. I assume that's what it is. And then one more. That's basically not rated. So it's not rated at all. Put a dash. And then say, well, it's collapsed. It's visible when this says not rated. Or it's visible when ESRB value is no value. So basically indicating that either it's not rated or it doesn't have anything in that field, put a dash. And that's one way to solve this conversion from ESRB rating to this whole age system. I believe I caught everyone except early childhood, which is something, I don't know what that is. 1 plus. Could technically be considered 3. Although early childhood is very specific, so that would be referring to what, like 1 to 5. Okay, so I think we're good. To wrap it up, let's publish it. Let's take a look. I'm sure there's going to be a number of issues that I will have to solve, but overall, I think we're doing pretty good. Look at that. Look at that. I can already see some issues. Let me just see if I'm correct. Yeah. Some animation issues, but I mean, it's all there. It is all there. Look at that. We're on, and at this point, I'm pretty sure I'm almost done the main parts of the theme, other than some tweaks here and there. Let's go to another system, see what it looks like. Nice. Look at that. Awesome. I'm going to publish it out and I'm going to look around and wow, yeah, got through basically 2 different themes or 2 different views of the colorful theme, and we're able to get to a point where a more optimized, easier to maintain version of the community theme creator or of the colorful theme is within our grasp, and that we can eventually release this to the public and allow anyone like you, Renzo, to download this project files and be like, hey, if I want to make the box stay where it is, I simply go to the view, I edit it, find box art, get rid of the animation, or maybe you want to move it somewhere or make it slightly different. Maybe you don't want to see the player count, you want to see something else there. That is 100% in everyone's grasp at some point soon. But until then, thank you so much for sticking around, watching. Hopefully you have a good weekend, and we'll see you guys next week. All right, take care, everybody. Have a good one.